there is a kind of exhaustion that sleep does not cure. You rest, but still feel tired. You change your routine, begin something new, watch another video, check another message, and search for something capable of making you feel alive again. Yet the moment the distraction ends, the same weight returns. The ancient monks had a name for this condition: Acedia. Acedia is often translated as laziness, but the Desert Fathers saw something more dangerous. A lazy person may simply avoid work. A person under the influence of acedia begins to feel disgust toward the life, place, duties, and spiritual commitments God has given him. Everything nearby seems empty, while everything elsewhere appears promising. St. John Cassian described a monk sitting in his cell as the heat of the day became oppressive. The hours seemed to move painfully slowly. He looked repeatedly toward the sun, wondering why the day was taking so long. He became irritated with his surroundings, dissatisfied with his work, and convinced that spiritual progress would be easier somewhere else. The monk began imagining other monasteries, wiser teachers, better communities, and more meaningful responsibilities. His cell now felt like a prison. His ordinary duties seemed unworthy of him. The temptation did not always tell him to abandon God openly. It simply suggested that faithfulness would be easier in a different place. This is why acedia remains painfully modern. You may not live in a desert cell, but you know the impulse to escape the present moment. You open your phone without knowing what you are looking for. You move between tasks because remaining with one feels unbearable. You dream about another job, another city, another relationship, another routine, or another version of yourself. Tell us in the comments which city and country you are listening from. Around the world, people live in different circumstances, yet many are fighting the same hidden restlessness. Your comment may remind someone else that this struggle is ancient, human, and not impossible to overcome. Acedia whispers that the problem is always somewhere outside you. The room is wrong, the work is wrong, the people are wrong, the prayer is dry, the responsibility is beneath you. If only something changed, you would finally become disciplined, peaceful, prayerful, and fully alive. Sometimes circumstances truly must change. The Catholic tradition does not teach that every painful situation should be endured without discernment, but acedia creates a pattern in which no place remains good once it becomes ordinary. No commitment remains attractive once it requires perseverance, and no spiritual practice remains valuable once consolation disappears. The Catechism describes acedia as a weakening of vigilance and a carelessness of heart. It is not merely feeling tired or experiencing sadness. It becomes spiritually dangerous when discouragement begins persuading you to abandon prayer, neglect duty, and stop pursuing the good because it no longer feels rewarding. Press the like button if you have ever felt restless without knowing exactly what you wanted. That simple response helps this message reach others who may be mistaking spiritual weariness for a personal failure they must hide. The Desert Fathers sometimes called acedia the noonday demon because it attacked when the day seemed longest and the work had lost its freshness. Morning enthusiasm had disappeared, but evening relief had not yet arrived. The monk stood in the painful middle, where only perseverance could carry him forward. Modern life offers thousands of ways to avoid that middle. The moment boredom arrives, we change the screen. The moment prayer becomes dry, we shorten it. The moment work becomes repetitive, we search for a new goal. The moment commitment asks something costly, we wonder whether we chose the wrong path. Subscribe to The Desert Within if you want to recover the wisdom that teaches Christians how to remain faithful when emotion, novelty, and motivation disappear. The monks did not defeat Acedia by constantly finding a more exciting life. They discovered that the temptation began to weaken when they stopped running from the ordinary place where God was already waiting for them. But remaining does not mean simply forcing yourself through every day with clenched teeth. The Desert Fathers prescribed specific remedies for acedia, and one of them seems almost too ordinary to defeat something so powerful. The remedy was not excitement, it was faithfulness. When acedia made the monk despise his cell, the Desert Fathers often told him to remain. When his mind demanded novelty, they directed him back to prayer and work. When he imagined that peace existed somewhere else, they taught him to become faithful in the place where God had already placed him. This was not blind stubbornness, it was spiritual stability. The monk learned that constantly changing his surroundings could never heal a heart that had not learned to persevere. If he carried the same restlessness within him, every new place would eventually become another place he wanted to escape. One of the traditional remedies for acedia was simple manual work. The monk prayed, worked with his hands, and returned to prayer. Work gave shape to time. It prevented discouragement from becoming endless mental wandering. It reminded the monk that even when he felt nothing, he could still offer something real to God. This matters because acedia often feeds on vagueness. You feel overwhelmed by your whole life, so you do nothing with the present hour. The monks answered by making faithfulness concrete. Finish the task in front of you. Pray the psalm appointed for this moment. Care for what has been entrusted to you. Do not demand that today reveal the meaning of your entire life. A short prayer can become a weapon against this restlessness. Not a complicated speech, but a sincere turning of the heart. Lord, help me remain faithful. Jesus, do not let me run from the good. O God, come to my assistance. The prayer may not immediately remove the heaviness, but it prevents the heaviness from becoming your master. Acedia tells you that because you do not feel devotion, prayer is useless. The Catholic tradition teaches the opposite. Prayer offered in dryness can become an act of deeper love because you are no longer praying only for consolation. You are remaining before God because He is worthy, even when your emotions give you nothing in return. The same principle applies to ordinary duties. Love is not proved only by intensity. It is proved by constancy, caring for a child, completing honest work, keeping a promise, returning to confession, attending Mass faithfully, and serving others when enthusiasm has disappeared can become powerful acts of spiritual resistance. If this video is helping you recognize a hidden struggle in your own life, subscribe to The Desert Within. These ancient teachings matter because modern life gives us countless ways to escape ourselves while convincing us that escape is freedom. There is also an important distinction. Acedia should not be used as a careless label for every experience of fatigue, depression, grief, anxiety, or emotional suffering. Human weakness is real, and seeking appropriate medical, psychological, or pastoral help is not a failure of faith. The spiritual tradition calls us to discernment, not accusation. The question is not whether you ever feel exhausted. The question is what the exhaustion begins asking you to abandon. Does it make you neglect prayer, avoid necessary responsibilities, despise your vocation, withdraw from charity, or believe that no good is worth continuing? Acedia becomes powerful when it convinces you that your present life contains nothing sacred. The remedy begins when you recover the truth that God is already present in ordinary faithfulness. He is present in the prayer that feels dry. He is present in the work that feels repetitive. He is present in the duty no one applauds. He is present in the quiet decision to remain loving when leaving would feel easier. You do not defeat restlessness by discovering a life without difficulty. You defeat it by learning that difficulty does not mean God has abandoned the place where you are. Tonight, resist one unnecessary escape. Put down the screen for a few minutes. Complete one neglected duty. Return to one prayer you have abandoned. Remain quietly before God, without demanding a feeling. The noonday demon loses strength whenever a Christian refuses to believe that faithfulness is meaningless. Your life may feel ordinary. Your progress may seem invisible. Your prayer may feel empty. But grace often works beneath the surface, long before the heart feels anything. Do not run simply because the road has become quiet. Sometimes, the place that feels empty is the very place where God is teaching you how to remain.